glass ceiling. Breaking the glass ceiling. I would say everyone look up and see what kind of ceiling you have. Is it glass or not? Okay, so I'm not a comedian, so you'll be expecting any dry jokes from me. My name is Chinwe Odubuegu. I'm your moderator for the day, and I'm happy to say that our distinguished panelists are on the call. So see what COVID has taught us, that we don't need to gather physically in the room to have these kind of conversations, you know. So we're all together on Zoom at different locations, and we're going to discuss this very, very important topic. So the introductory statement, I mean, we prepared something, so I'll just read it out and then we'll get into the conversation. I'll introduce our speakers and then get into the conversation. So the role of the general counsel and in-house lawyer continues to change rapidly. In the past, many companies saw the GC as, many companies saw their GC as a technical specialist to be consulted when there was a specific legal issue. But no longer. Now they're expected to provide advice, manage risk, and ensure legal compliance, amongst other things. Now GCs oversee critical matters to the company, such as regulation and compliance, climate change, ethics, data security and protection, and so on. Many GCs are also business enablers. They're trusted advisors to the board, and helping the company meet commercial objectives. However, despite the evolving responsibilities of the in-house and general counsel, both business partner and trusted advisor, they're never considered for higher roles than that of a GC. So the question is, do we agree that GCs are never considered for higher roles? You can drop your comments in the chat. So that's what our introduction is saying. So maybe I should change never to rarely, but that's what it looks like. So there's a perception. Maybe some people in this session can correct that, you know, with your own experiences. Yeah. So when it comes to considering succession planning for the CEO role now, how seriously will the GC or company secretary be viewed as a potential candidate? Consider the recent words of Michael Shaw, RBS General Counsel. He said, why is it that although lawyers think they're the cleverest in any room, when you get into a business, boards and other business people think us in a different way? Why? Yes, they admire you for your intellect, but they don't see you as being great material for chief executive roles or even a non-executive director. All other professions, accountants, bankers, are likely to be picked ahead of us. So, I mean, for GCs, you could say when you're in a law firm, right? This is not the quote now, I'm breaking the quote. When you're in law firm, those that you were with are now partners and you're still where, you know, in one role or the other in-house. So continuing with the quote, he says, we need to think critically about what's gone wrong with our training and the type of people we're recruiting. Okay, are we shaking tables now? So there are, of course, numerous examples of high-profile lawyers who have risen to the top of their respective organizations. In the US, for instance, not many examples exist in these parts unless our speakers have examples to share with us. So today we'll be unraveling why this is so, and to discuss this, we have quite a number of speakers. I wish you could spotlight the speakers. Okay, so it's maybe when they start speaking. Yeah, thanks. So on the slides, you would see profiles of our speakers. First person to be introduced is Rotimi Odushola, popularly known as MRO. And in one of our groups, someone said, what does MRO mean? And they're still trying to find out. So I told them to ask Google. So Rotimi Odushola has over 2 decades of leadership experience in broad multifunctional roles, spanning legal practice, corporate and regulatory affairs, as well as commercial legal management. He is currently the company secretary and corporate relations director for Guinness Nigeria PLC, Diageo in Nigeria. He joined Guinness Nigeria as legal director in 2014. Prior to that, he was a senior manager commercial legal at MTN Nigeria Communications. That's MTN, we know MTN. He was responsible for providing proactive legal advice and support to the various units of the multinational telecoms business in Nigeria. He was appointed company secretary of Guinness Nigeria on 29 January 2016. And on the 1st of March 2021, he became the company's corporate relations director. So welcome, Rotimi. You want to say something?
Thank you very much, Chinwe, and I hope you can hear me all right. Good afternoon and welcome to everyone on the call. I'm very pleased to be here, especially not just amongst colleagues, but also amongst distinguished panelists. So I'm looking forward to learning on this session. Thank you very much.
Yes, we're looking forward to learning from you as well, Rotimi. I like your cap, rich man vibe. So let me just say something. Rotimi was my boss when I was at Guinness Nigeria, and before I got promoted to his former role as legal director. So I actually told Rotimi, shoo, go. I want to be legal director. That's a joke. But Rotimi has moved to another role, and I was legal director with him as a colleague until a few days ago. All right. Next speaker, Abimbola Lawson. She's the Chief Operating Officer at Alliance Nigeria. So Abimbola Lawson, Chief Operating Officer at Alliance Nigeria. She oversees the strategic offices that include HR, compliance, legal, internal control, admin, and technology. She is also the company secretary to the board of directors. A lawyer by profession, Abimbola started her career at AEC Legal and thereafter moved to ARM Life PLC. She had a short stint at Fina Trust MFB Limited as a pioneer in-house company secretary before joining Union Assurance Company PLC, which has now evolved into Alliance Nigeria Insurance Limited since 2014. Abimbola bagged an LLB from the University of Lagos and has a master's degree in international business law from Coventry University, UK. She's also a certified chartered company secretary. Welcome, Abimbola. A few words from you to say hello to everyone.
Hi, Chinwe. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy to be here.
Yeah, happy to have you, Abimbola. Okay, our third speaker, in no particular order, is Mercy Edukuho Amina. Mercy is the Managing Director at Fiduciary Services Limited. Mercy is a passionate corporate solicitor, chartered secretary and administrator, trust and estate practitioner, governance and sustainability enthusiast. Mercy has over 15 years rich capital market experience, institutional and public sector clients within greenfield, high pressure, competitive environment. Okay, we're having a music break right now, but it's not from me. Can we mute our mics for whoever wants to do that? Thank you. Okay, so she's a certified trainer in corporate governance by the African Finance Corporation, a graduate of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, as well as the Compliance Institute Nigeria. Mercy holds LLB and MBA degrees from the University of Lagos, in addition to Masters in International Business Law from the University of Canberra, UK. Early in her career, she worked as the legal governance and compliance lead at Meristem Wealth Management Limited between 2009 and 2017. Thereafter, she was appointed Managing Director of Meristem Trustees Limited, a position she held between February 2017 and July 2020. She's currently the Managing Director of Fiduciary Services Limited and also part of the faculty of Nungu Business School, where she teaches wealth management and Islamic finance. Mercy, welcome. You want to say hello to everyone? You're mute. Okay.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Miss. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Chinwe. Yeah, I look forward to learning.
Yeah. All these humble people that look forward to learn, you don't want to teach us, but it's great. I understand. That's what I say too. Next person is Ugochukwu Undubisi. He is the Executive Director, Legal and Corporate Services at Mixter Africa Group. Ugo is the Executive Director, Legal and Corporate Services at Mixter Africa Group. I said that, a role he assumed in 2020. In this role, he oversees the legal units, corporate services department, and general administration of the company. Prior to assuming this role, he was head legal and corporate services department of Mixter Real Estate PLC. Before then, he worked as senior counsel at Asset and Resource Management Holding Company Limited. ARM, okay? So he holds a first-class degree in law from the University of Ibadan and was called to Nigerian Bar in 2007. He also holds a master's degree, distinction from University College London, with a specialization in the law of banking and finance. Ugo, can we call you Ugo? Or it has to be Ugo.
Ugo is perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, Chinwe, for the introduction, and I'm looking forward to this session. Being in the company of very, very seasoned minds, I see.
Thank you, Ugo. Last but not the least, we have Bemini Shoda. Bemini Shoda is currently the Managing Director, CEO of Structure HQ, a company that's providing corporate and commercial solutions for individuals and innovative businesses. Before becoming the Managing Director of Structure HQ, she joined VFD Group PLC in 2015, providing leadership and direction to the legal, compliance, and company secretariat units of VFD's ecosystem, which cuts across diverse sectors. Bemini Shoda is a member of the Nigerian Bar Association, section of Business Law of the Nigerian Bar Association, that's SBL, Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria, Institute of Directors, and the sponsored individual of the Securities and Exchange Commission. She's a graduate of the Lagos State University and has a BL from the Nigerian Law School. Welcome, Bemini.
Thank you, Chinwe. Good afternoon, everybody. Looking forward to a great session as well.
Thank you. Okay, so I've introduced everyone. Like I said earlier, my name is Chinwe Odiboegu. I don't think there's any need to show my profile, so we can take down the slides. Thank you. So if you want to know who Chinwe is, you can Google my name. If you can spell my surname, that's it. Okay, so just before we go on, a few ground rules, please. We need everyone to please make sure your display name. Okay. So part of it is to mute, to avoid background noise. I feel if you make maybe someone else host that can help us mute people that come in with a noisy background. So part of the hacks of Zoom is when you're doing your meeting settings, click to ensure that you join with video and audio off. That way, even if network kicks you out and you come back, you still have it off and you don't have to embarrass yourself, so no noise. So please change your names to your real names. You know, when you get on Zoom calls and you see iPhone X or grandma's iPad and all that, it doesn't look nice for meetings. So please put your name so we know who is in the meeting with us. Keep your microphone muted when not speaking. Use the raise hand function if you have any questions, or please type your questions in the chat and we pick from there. We want the session to be as interactive as possible. Like I said earlier, we're recording this session. And of course, Zoom notified you on the pop-up when we got into the meeting. So, you know, I think this is a very table-shaking conversation because actually it's beyond breaking the glass ceiling. Yeah, like the general breaking the glass ceiling where, okay, get to the peak of your career and then, you know, keep going up, you know, where they say the sky is the stepping stone. We're saying that lawyers generally, you know, we're not trained to just be in chambers or something. Things are evolving, right? Lawyers are doing bigger things that they used to do in-house. So general counsel, in-house lawyers, company secretaries. So, in different companies, there are different titles, right? Some is legal director, some is chief legal officer, some is head of legal, some is just company secretary, sometimes legal advisor and company secretary, or legal director separate from company secretary. Whatever the title is, there is a title for the highest lawyer for the company in terms of providing legal services. Some companies don't only have those departments, you know, handling legal work. You also handle other things like corporate services and all. So the question is, when I become a legal director or a company secretary or head of legal or general counsel, is that the highest I can be in that company? Does the succession plan, you know, show that I can be more than that? And we are now looking at the CEO position. We're not talking about all the other positions you can be, whether in a global role, which might look like a high, well, which might be higher pay, higher job grade, and all that. We're saying the chief executive officer role, the managing director role, can general counsels grow into those roles? And we have a diverse panel to discuss this. So I'll start with Rotimi, not because he's my former boss or colleague, but because that's how we structured it and we all agreed that we'll go in this flow. So question, Rotimi, are general counsels maximizing potential? And I'll just mention that, Rotimi, you have an MBA, right? You have a master's in business administration. So you're not just a lawyer, now you're a corporate relations director, but are we all maximizing potential, really?
Yeah, thank you, Chinwe. And actually, I think the point that you mentioned is possibly a good place to start from. So if we all look at all of the people who have been invited as panelists here, you'd see that literally everyone on this panel has, more than just being a lawyer, gone ahead to upskill in different fields. So we'll keep that in the cooler as, one of the tips that we should take from this session. But to address the question directly, whether or not general counsel are maximizing the potentials, especially in the corporate world, my response would be that, yes, possibly we might be, but there is definitely room for us to do more as general counsel. And then also, it could also be a matter of preference. So some individuals may feel, I'm a lawyer and I want to get to the peak of my career as a lawyer. Just the same way in which, you could be in practice, not in-house, and, your target is to make silk or to become a QC. However, in terms of potentials and whether we are maximizing it, I think the way many lawyers are trained and the things that are kind of put at the back of our minds in the course of our training, right from the choices that we make. And I suspect many people on this call, this will resonate with us. A lot of us, choose to become lawyers for reasons such as, oh, I don't like mathematics, I don't like sciences, and yeah, some will become lawyers because earlier in your life, people see your ability to advocate or to, articulate arguments. It's almost like subconsciously, many lawyers, grow up feeling like, oh, all I can be or all I want to be is a lawyer. And then we bring that into the corporate world, where we feel that in the corporate setting, I'm the lawyer, and therefore, let me focus on being the lawyer. Unfortunately, in many corporate organizations as well, lawyers are seen mainly as technical experts to go to when it comes to issues of law and regulation and compliance, and just be the person that helps the business to stay on the right side of the law. And it's very difficult, or it's very rare that lawyers are seen differently in many organizations. So in terms of maximizing potentials, therefore, the onus is on us as lawyers to be the one to position ourselves to be able to maximize the opportunities that the corporate setting offers. The people who have those opportunities and appear to be doing better in different disciplines are not necessarily more intelligent. They don't love the business more than we do, but subconsciously it feels like we kind of pigeonhole ourselves into being lawyers, even in a corporate setting. And I would say, unless it is their choice to say, I want to be a lawyer and I want to stay being a lawyer, there's an opportunity certainly for all of us to maximize and take better advantage of the opportunities that the corporate setting offers us. Let me stop there for now, Chinwe.
Thank you, Rotimi. I like the way you're spinning it, so don't just sit down and say, oh, my organization is not giving the opportunity. Do you even want it? Do you desire it in the first place? And if you desire it, what are you doing about it? don't just sit there and be whining, oh, lawyers are not allowed to grow into the CEO role. But I get what you're saying, but there's also the other angle of when you say opportunities in the corporate setting, we'll come back to it, whether there really are opportunities. Yeah, in the succession plans, in those things, do you even see that there's a possibility when you're having conversations around appraisal, discussions? Are there those opportunities, or is it just a perception that we're not willing to, challenge? So speaking about that, in terms of personal development, which I think I'm picking from you, Rotimi, the next question is to Abimbola, right? And the question is, what skills do you think a general counsel needs to succeed? Yeah, we've gone to university, we've gone to law school. Over the years we've grown and all that. So beyond just building experience, what are these skills? Beyond technical, soft skills, whatever they are. So to tell us, yeah, because I think there's some young lawyers here who would benefit from it. They still have the opportunity to work on it. There are some who feel like, oh, okay, I'm nearing retirement, so no problem, I couldn't get there, let me give up. You never can tell. You might just wake up some dream, for someone. So over to you, Abimbola.
Okay, thank you, Chinwe. And to the question that you asked, I think, to the saying, you should be a jack of all trades, because all issues within the organization will come to you in one way or the other. So, of course, having a broad understanding across the business would be very, very helpful. And taking from Rotimi's point, he talked about, being a lawyer because you didn't understand maths in that sense. Well, if you want to grow and you're in the corporate world, you need to have financial understanding. There is no way about it. Even in your day-to-day lives, you use maths to, your business, your budget, everything. But you need to have financial understanding to be able to, grow. To be the CEO, to be an executive director, you'll be reading financial reports, you'll be making projections, you'll be coming up with your budget. So you need to have that. In terms of soft skills, I think since you get a lot of complaints, you get people looking for your opinion, you need to be approachable as a lawyer and as a counsel. You need to be someone that they can reach out to for help. And I don't think I'm not saying you should be, all open. Of course, we deal with confidentiality and things like that, but you should also be approachable. Another skill that comes to head is you need to be brave, right? If you're a corporate counsel, you're dealing with the board of directors, you're dealing with people that are, big wigs in the society. So you need to be able to approach them. You need to be able to counter them. Sometimes during meetings, they come up with ideas or refer to things that are not applicable or are totally wrong. And you can't just sit down, and take it because you're timid. So you need to be brave. You need to be audacious. You need to also be ambitious. You can't be quiet. You can't stay in the background. Sometimes, and I think it comes from maybe our profession and how we are trained. Sometimes you hear that you need to be in the background, not seen and not heard. But I also think that, when the situation arises, don't keep quiet. You're in a town hall, you're in the meeting, you have ideas, you have opinions, you need to speak out. You're competing with people from various other departments. You're people from sales that are usually bold and loud, from other areas, finance and all. You can't keep yourself in the background. When appraisals come and people are being looked on, if they don't know you, they've not heard from you, you'll be overlooked. That's the point. You can be brilliant, you can know it all, but if you don't put yourself out there, you totally, lose out from the opportunities that may arise in your favor. You may not even be in the room, to defend yourself at that point in time. It's those who have interacted with you in one way or the other that will be able to speak for you. So I think those skills would help you, grow as you go on in your career. Thank you.
Wow. So thank you, Abimbola, for that very, very, it's a good summary because there's a lot in what you said. We tried to summarize it very well. And I hope that people are taking notes because this is like a school, right, that we're having right now. So thanks for those points. And then I'll ask Mercy the next question, based on our notes and all that. And, I'm just hoping that as we speak, as discussion continues, people are able to pick out a few things. And I'd like to see comments in the chat, to be sure what we're doing. So, Rotimi also dropped comments on skills that GCs need to succeed. Commercial and financial acumen, like you said, people management skills, stakeholder engagement skills, and all that. Thanks for that, Rotimi. So the next question really is for Mercy. right? From your perspective, what is the biggest challenge in a general counsel in 2022? If you want me to push the question to someone else, I can, but this is 2022, and the reason the question is saying 2022 is what counsels were doing before COVID is quite different from what we're doing now. Things have happened. COVID came, slapped all of us. For Nigeria, we have a lot of FX and all that. So what's the most critical thing? And then any other comments you have in connection with that?
Okay, yeah, Chinwe. So, what are the challenges that a CS faces, agency faces now? I mean, like you just said, rightly just noted, we live in unprecedented times. Like when we were on lockdown from the COVID, and immediately we came out of it, and we were feeling like, okay, so we saw the back of 2020. And we were just getting out of it. 2021, 2022, we are back at war. We have war going on in Europe, which is most likely unimaginable on various scales and all that. So what has that caused? There has been a contraction. There has been, a lot of things have been thrown up. And just like Abimbola said, when she was mentioning the skills that a GC is supposed to have, you would need to have to be able to sit on top of the company, because more often than not, you would have a pseudo role that is more or less like that of a COO. It's not necessarily that of a COO, which is the Chief Operating Officer, but you should be able to come into the room and be able to have an assessment of where the company is going, what are the elements that make up that company, what are the key critical areas that would ensure that the company thrives, its businesses, its operations, and everything. And there's a lot of things that, as a GS, you would have to come to terms with. We're having a lot of conversations around ESG right now. Do you, as a firm, how has your company signed up to that? We are having a lot of conversations on climate right now. What are the footprints that your company is taking? It might not seem obvious because some of us are practicing in Nigeria. We're probably just looking at it from our local level. But even at that, we had floodings a couple of weeks ago. And we still have the devastating effect of those floodings that might take us even up to first quarter, second quarter next year. There are talks about food insecurity as a result of that. So as a general counsel in today's world, it is not okay. So when I was a general counsel, earlier on in my career, just like Abimbola said, it resonated so much with me. I had a director that more or less like told me, you are supposed to be seen. So you're just to come there, take the recordings. You're not supposed to be heard. So you don't say anything. I think in that, for me, it was a shock because I've just been chatted. So I knew
that you're supposed to be what, silent?
You're supposed to be silent. Absolutely. The guy said it. Because I think I was just like, like when, going back to Abimbola, I'm sure she does this on a regular, you know how you would want to correct, and you correct respectfully. So you want to now a direction that is aligned with what the regulatory environment is and everything is. And you just have someone on the board who is much older than you and is telling you to just hold it there. You understand? You're probably just coming with a lot of enthusiasm, what you know, what the recent laws have been, how it's been amended, and where the company sits, and how you have so much enthusiasm, and somebody just tells you, please, you know what, drop all that. You are here to be seen, taking the minutes and listening to us. You're not supposed to be heard. And it was such a shock for me at that point in time. And I think what happened was I looked across the room and I could see that I had an executive director that was just telling me to calm down. So I had an executive that was telling me to just calm down and just, he was practically just like, you know what, calm down, calm down. Just let him talk. So that's the perception we had, that general counsels are supposed to be clerical. They are supposed to be secretarial. So you just come in, you are like the typewriter thing. You just regurgitate everything back again and all that. But that has changed. General counsels are having to deal with a lot of the issues that we are having today. I've just mentioned quite a few. You also have supply chain, issues, the disruptions that have been caused by the war, by the coronavirus and all that. So you need to sit. And just like as Abimbola said as well, you have to be numerical. I mean, there is no two ways about. So even you as a lawyer, you should not put a ceiling on yourself. And I think that's what Timmy said that resonated with me. If you don't want to have a ceiling on yourself, then you would not. So if you don't come into the organization as a vibrant young lawyer just out of the law school, and you're trying to say, okay, let me see where I want to practice, and you don't put a ceiling on yourself, you don't just want to be called, initial stages, they will call you a baby lawyer. Before they will probably start looking at you with a lot more respect as the years go on. If you don't want to have that moniker on you that just says that you're a lawyer, you need to be able to embrace new things. You need to be able to embrace diverse knowledge base. You need to come into the organization, understand what the risk management team is doing, understand what the production circles are, understand the different critical sectors of that company. What makes it thrive? What is the brand? What does it stand for? What is this 5-year plan? Is 3-year plan, long-term plans, and all that? What is this growth trajectory? What is it? What is the competition that is trying to beat out as well? And what are the competition doing? You need to be on top of it. And honestly, you cannot just sit and just be relaxed saying that I'm a lawyer, everything will come to me. Yeah, it might, but more often than not, you would be overlooked. So you have to take the initiative and you have to be proactive. Being proactive now is the only way you are going to be able to beat out the competition and kind of stay on top of your game.
But actually it's in companies, because usually the legal department are the smallest and most. It looks like my network is a bit patchy, so permit me to turn off my video and hope you can hear me better. If you can hear me, please say something, any of our speakers.
I can hear you.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. So, maybe we want to blow our trumpet here, and the next question goes to Gbemi. And how critical is the general counsel stroke company role to a company? Can
you hear me?
With the yes, Gbemi, can you hear the question?
I lost you for a few seconds.
Okay, the question to you, Gbemi, is how critical is the GC's, the general counsel to a company? I said maybe it's important that we repeat, how important it is. And so we will now deal with another question after you. So please tell us, in your opinion, how. Thank you. Someone had dropped in the comments when Mercy was speaking, harassed. You explained to me, but
I think that the role of a GC or a company secretary is very key and integral to the success of any organization. In the words of one of my directors that I've worked with for almost a decade, he says that if you intend to build a lasting institution, or if you intend to build an institution or a firm that would outlive you or would be very strong out there, you need to have a very good company secretary or a very good general counsel. Now, beyond the KPIs that company secretaries have, which majorly spans between being a conduit between the stakeholders, the board members, shareholders, and management is beyond all of that. The role is highly strategic, and the way you approach it as a company secretary will show how you strategically also position yourself in an organization. Are you taking your role more as just, okay, like a message word, should I just be seen and not heard, more of just taking notes? Or are you taking it such that you see it as very strategic and other persons in the organization see it as such? So I've seen situations where company secretaries go into some meetings unprepared, stakeholder meetings, board meetings unprepared, and the meeting takes another turn. And if you look at it or walk back through that kind of scenario, it's something that they could have envisaged if they really knew how strategic their role is as company secretary. Because like Rotimi typed into the group chat, one of the things you need to highly understand is stakeholder management. So in discharging your role as a company secretary, you are engaging all the relevant stakeholders to your function. You are ensuring that nothing misses your sight. You cannot lose sight of something. There's something I tell people that work with me. I always say that before you go for meetings or before you even handle tasks or instruction, you have to have a 360 outlook of it. You have to think of it in different directions to be able to envisage, oh, if it lands here, how do we go? If it lands there, how do we proceed? So in reality, the role is so key, the role is so strategic, the role is beyond you being seen, it's more about you being heard. I know Abimbola mentioned something about being brave, about also being able to speak up, when you need to put forward maybe a point of correction, or you need to put forward, something to the board. And it's also a lot of, emotional intelligence, knowing the battles to fight, knowing which one to pick, knowing how to pick it, in the same vein. So it's beyond your KPIs of, oh, set agenda, go and do this, go and do that. There are some boards that I have served that there is no way that I would hold that board meeting without having a pre-engagement session, either with certain persons on the board, individually or collectively. And this is because you come to understand the tone in the room. I have a chairman that always says, for every successful board meeting that I've shared, I would always like to thank Benny. And the reason he goes to tell me is that he says, if you've not done some of the stakeholder engagement behind the scenes, or you've not done some level of management, at the end of the day, it will be very obvious when, the event happens, and then you realize that certain things could have been done behind the scenes. So I think our role as company secretaries again, I think that is a very strategic role. I think it's the most important role in a company, because in every department of every company, you see that they always liaise with your team, with your unit. Some teams can go ahead their own function without being engaged by another team. But for your own role, every team in the organization is engaging you in on one level or the other, in one form or the other. And that's just to tell you how the role is key to the efficient administration of the company, to the efficient running of the company, of the organization. And when you carry yourself as such, seeing yourself in that light, knowing that how strategic your role is, then you begin to see your KPI and your JD in a very different direction and in a very different light. There was also something that Rotimi said, about maximizing your potential and also seeing yourself for more. So if you don't, no one will see you beyond the person that just carries barrel and paper and just tells the board, okay, write attendance, write your name on this attendance, and then you keep moving in goals. I mean, no one is saying, oh, Jamie, what's your opinion on this? Oh, Abimbola, what do you think about this situation? But when you position yourself that way, you see those questions come. You see people start respecting that position, and people start saying, okay, you know what? Or chairman says, before we go this route, I would like to know what the company secretary thinks. I would like to probably step this down and then get a second opinion for it. So again, Chinwe, the importance of the role cannot be overemphasized. It's beyond what you see that HR gives you on your JD when you sign your offer letter. It's way beyond that. It's strategic, and now it's no more the stereotypical way that we've seen company secretary or GCs for years.
Wow. Thank you for that, Bimini. The 360 view is not the way it was seen before. It's very critical, but and I like how you've talked about the general counsel's role in making sure we actually project how critical the role is. Perhaps the problem was from us. We lawyers that like to speak a lot of grammar, quote a lot of cases, quote a lot of law, and they're losing people as they are speaking. So maybe over time, that's how it happened. But let's hear whether Ugo has some thoughts. If the role of the general counsel and company secretary is as critical to a company as Bemini has said and other speakers before you, why is it that organizations overlook the general counsel and company secretary for higher responsibilities? And let me put in context again. You're looking at an organogram. The highest position is either, let's just say MD CEO, right? We're not talking about moving the general counsel to other, departments. Higher job grade, higher salary. We're talking about leading the company, being the head of company, being the chairman of, or the managing director, CEO in the executive position, and even being on the board. Because I know I saw an article recently where someone said, should a general counsel be a member of the board of directors? Yeah, that's a conversation for another day. Yeah, where some companies actually have the company secretary as a member of the board, not just the company secretary or the legal director on the board. It's not a general thing. So if it is this critical, as Wibini has said, in fact, you're not just a firefighter, but you're like a pseudo MD because you cover every aspect of the company. There's a legal solution or a legal issue in almost everything. And now you're doing things beyond legal. You're actually a business partner. You're actually a business enabler. So let's unpack this. Why do organizations not consider general counsels or company secretaries for these higher positions? Do you know why? Can you tell us what you found in preparing for this session? Ugo, over to you.
Thank you, Chinwe, and thank you to all the panelists that have spoken ahead of me. Chinwe, I will thank you very graciously for the positioning of the question, because I have the easiest of the jobs amongst all the speakers. They've answered all the questions. I'll just try to draw it out from all.
You're being humble, but let's hear you. Thank you.
We, the lawyer, as we the professionals, we are our own problem, we are our own malaise. Thankfully for some of us, our experience is panel. I would like to say there are quite a lot of things lawyers are doing right now that just makes it difficult for people to consider them for board positions or even senior management positions, in no particular order. But I tend to think, and I think it's a failure of some part of the kind of legal training that we get in the universities, and I dare say the law school. Lawyers are trained so much about to speak to the rules, the laws, but they are not given strategic thinking. We need to be much more strategic in how we present our views. We also need to be strategic in how we give opinions and advise the business. Another issue about lawyers is that we don't prepare ourselves for these opportunities as they come. I would like to share a personal experience when I started with ARM, because then in ARM these days, when you get to legal, you basically do everything. I mean, these kids these days, they are enjoying it. It's either you're doing legal, you're doing COSEC, you're doing trustee. I did everything. So I was preparing for a board meeting, and the first board meeting, the directors were getting their board packs, and I asked for the COSEC board pack, and they gave it to me. And after work, I was reading it, and Tara Colada, I see them called and said, "Are you studying for a paper?" I said, "No, if I'm going to be covering the meeting, I might as well know what that is going to talk about and understand the business." From that very first day, I was deliberate and conscious of what I was doing. The whole idea was that I wanted to know what the business was about. If you do not know what the business is about, you can never, ever commercialize your knowledge. And that's another point I'm going to go to. So you need to, from the very first day, try to understand the business language. be financially literate, because these are the hallmarks, these are the stepping stones to where you want to go. Even if you do not want to be a board position holder, or in your own law firm, if you are going to go run a firm, these same skills would be what you will need, even if you wanted. So, and one particular thing that really, really pains me amongst lawyers I've met in the course of my career, I've met very, very decent, highly intelligent lawyers, but it always pains me. It's very, very unfortunate for me when I see lawyers with all their tutelage that they cannot commercialize their knowledge. What I mean by commercialize their knowledge, you are in a fix, you are in the boardroom, you are discussing, they call you in as the company's lawyer to a discussion. We are having an issue with this XXX. Yes, any lawyer on the street that is worth his decent money will tell you that the SEC rule on this says you can't do this because of this and because of this. Your role as an attorney for the firm, knowing the philosophy, knowing the spirit, and knowing the practice and what they want to do and the objectives, you should say yes. Perhaps if I can't find it now, but I know there should be some structure we could do, perhaps to the vehicle, to the project vehicle, to take it and remove all these encumbrances we have on it and perhaps be able to do it in a different way. Nobody is going to give you a bonus as a lawyer that you come and tell me I can't do this because of the rule does this. In fact, my group MD then used to say, Google, you just told me what any freaking lawyer outside knows. The beauty and the essence of that lawyer that is going to grow is that lawyer that can give business solutions. Before you can give business solutions, you need to understand the business. So do not stay in your silo, in your legal units. Cocoon yourselves with your karma and your ISA and say you're advising. It's never going to work. Yeah, you're going to get a decent pay. You will rise as at when due, but when you hit that GC level, or even before the GC level, you're going to be stultified at that point. I would like to see, and that's why programs that we do these days that we speak to younger lawyers, to the point that you've made. When we started, they told us that in the boardroom, you do not talk. Yeah? Yes, fine, we do not talk, but there's some emotional intelligence that goes in there. If you know that your MD is a perfectionist and he does not want to be seen to have made a mistake right of everybody, rather than allowing him institutionalize the mistake in the course of the meeting, write a note and pass it to him. If he knows what he's doing, he's going to appreciate it. And over time, he's going to seek your counsel in things. Then, at this point, I'd like to talk about, I don't know why we do not try to look at the inverse case to this discussion. Actually, of all the professionals in-house, it should be the in-house counsel that has the best path to becoming a board member or a CEO, because even from the first
Ugo, please say it again.
I said we need to check the inverse relationship on this discussion, because actually it should be the legal associate or someone in the in-house legal department that has a much more surer path to get into the board position, the senior management position. Because unlike his peers at graduate trainee level, as associate level, as senior associate level, in their different departments, he is involved in the information, the strategy, and all the underpinnings of the company more than any other department. But the thing is, I don't know whether it's the nature of the training we had, we are never strategic to make use of this opportunity.
Ugo, you're really shaking this table, and there's a subtle scolding you're doing, and I don't know how many people are shifting on their seats wherever they are to say, Ugo, take it easy on us. So why are you blaming us for this thing now? We're the ones that are the victims. Why are you now saying it's our fault? But you've said it, you've dropped it like it's hot, and you've brought to the fore, part of what the issue is. Yeah, some companies and other individuals might have the issue. Some people just don't like lawyers at all. And they're like, you call yourself the learned ones, right? So we want to show you that even if you are that intelligent, there are some places you can never go to. So it's a mix of all sorts, And I mean, you said, there's an issue there, but question first to something, you want to say something, Abimbola? Oh, I'm hearing some background. Is it okay? So there was this chat in 2022. Kaizen Academy had a session where the former NBA chairman Olu Apata was there, Nigerian Bar Association chairman, and he said that the major challenge facing general counsels is that they are almost never in the room when decisions concerning them are being taken. Usually those succession planning conversations, you're hardly in the room when they're talking about you, or they hardly bring it to your knowledge to say, we're considering your capabilities and, and your opportunities for growth in the company. So is it true that in-house counsels are usually aloof? Bola, so beyond your efforts for personal development, preparing yourself for these roles, or even being very courageous and vocal about your aspirations, do you think that we're aloof? We're just doing our work, we're just solving problems, we're just protecting the company, and we're just not aware of what's going on? Yeah. So what to me says we have to ditch the victim mentality. I totally agree with you. We have to ditch the victim mentality as lawyers and take our seat at the corporate table by empowering ourselves to be favorably considered for the highest possible opportunities. Ayo says, Ayo dropped a lot of comments, and he says perhaps the lack of curriculum on company secretarial duties in school may have played a part. Yeah. So let's forget about our trainings and all that, because the opportunities to learn a lot. Okay, so the question is for Abimbola. Am I correct? Yeah. Our general counsels usually are aloof. Are we not just aware of what's going on? So decisions are being taken. And this is not about, going somewhere and praying that, wherever they're talking about me, let the conversations be good and all that. Are we just sitting somewhere feeling very important and critical, and we're just not aware of the kind of conversations going on about us, and therefore we cannot contribute to those conversations?
So if I want to go, local, I would say we are local champions in the sense that we believe that this law is all in all. We know it, we know the principles, ask us any questions about the law, we can give it to you. But in terms of being business owners and applying it, to see yourself as a potential entrepreneur, as holding that post as a business, owner, is usually difficult for us because we can't transition from being the bookworm and knowing the principles and all that to applying it to the business. And I think Ugo spoke to that when he was speaking. And that basically translates to how people see you within the business. Are you, do you drive revenue? Are you interested in how revenue is being driven? Do you speak up during MPLs to ask questions from the sales team on how they are doing, or finance from the finance team on how they drew up the budgets and how it's affecting the business in the overall position? Do we, or just sit down, and when it comes to what does the principal say about this, we now speak up? So yes, I think to some extent, and time passed, really, we were in that position and stuck in that position that all we need to know is the law and how we can bring it out in in a flowery and big way and appear very intelligent. But now I think, at least for myself, and I'm sure for my partners here, sitting on this panel, is that it has moved from that, and the areas that I play in actually speaks to the various levels of the business. You can't just sit in the legal office and just hide yourself away, and think that that's the only contribution that you can bring to the business.
Interesting. So when we do these things, then it's likely that when the conversations they're having about us come up, then they recognize these other things that we're doing, and therefore the opportunities for growth will not just be, how much can we add to his or her salary? It will be, okay, how do we prep this person and give the person the opportunity to be managing director, CEO? How many companies have I worked for, corporate organizations? Just two, apart from a law firm. And over the years, I keep wondering, okay, when an MD is going on leave, I don't recall that the legal director or company secretary has been announced as the person with the delegated authority, because you have a large, no matter how small the leadership team is, usually the CFO, finance director, or the commercial director, if it's like, FMCG. Unless someone has had another experience, that would have been the first step to say that, when the MD is away, the the deputy MD can now be the company secretary or general counsel, So the next question, and for our audience, we have quite a number of participants. Please drop your comments in the chat and questions. I know that there's a lot to see on this topic, but I believe we're doing justice to the topic. And when I read the profiles of our speakers, I was kind of like, wow. We have lawyers who are MDs and all that. Yeah, I knew we had, but just seeing everyone on the same document, and amazing to see that, that whole myth about, general counsel, that's the glass ceiling, they get there and that's it. So a lot of people just assume when you're head of, stay there for 10 to 15 years and then retire and go and set up your own private practice. That was the presumption then. Because I remember when I was in a law firm and we used to joke about it. We used to joke about it when people say, do you want to go in-house? And we would mention some names. Say, who wants to kill Mr. A? Who wants to kill Mrs. D? Because this person has been on that position for 10 years. Person has been company secretary for so years. If you look at some companies, you see that people have sat in those positions for 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. And the question is, okay, these people in their team, would they be promoted to this role at any point in time? No, they're resigning and going to other places. Yeah. Or when will the opportunity come for these people to just leave this role for other people to step in? Yeah. So it doesn't look attractive because there's that perception of once you get there, that's all you can ever do. They'll be increasing your salary every year. And therefore, you just sit there for 10 to 15 years. But I think that's changing in quite a number of companies. So the question here for let's say Mercy and Ugo, yeah? This whole thing about your path is you be company secretary, legal director, legal advisor, chief legal officer. There are so many names for this for this position, but let's just break it down. It's the highest position generally for the in-house lawyer, right? So when we're now saying, okay, you can be MD, you can be this, you can be that, in the same company, not in the company that you went to go and set up by yourself. In the same company, you've been promoted from your role as general counsel to the MD role. What do I need to do? Or what does anybody need to do to make that happen? Okay. How can you go further? Yeah. So that in the end, by the time someone's already at that position, it's not a retirement plan the person has, or person is just waiting for a conversation to say, well, I've been here for 15 years, what's next? And they say, actually, that's it. Maybe in 5 years' time, after you set up your practice, you can consider you to be a member of the board because of your. So should I start with? Let me start with Mesty, then we'll comment on that. How do we go further? Yeah, beyond the GC.
I mean, yeah, absolutely fantastic question there. I think everybody in this panel has just been dropping nuggets, and I'm just like, wow. Really, at the end of the day, just like Ugo said, we just take from everybody's comments and we'll be fine. And just to answer that question, how do you go further? I think we have mentioned it in different ways, in different facets here. Rotimi has talked about the fact that probably we need to, when we are leaving law school or the orientation we get, I think Abimbola has probably also mentioned it as well. The orientation we get as lawyers, there has to be a tweaking to it. And I saw a comment that Ayo made as well. It is about tweaking that curriculum or tweaking that training. So when you are in law school, I think there should be a lot more intentional and deliberate efforts, concerted efforts to ensure that young wigs are exposed or are given you are put in a position where you know that really there are no glass ceilings. If you want to go within the corporate space, you are given that knowledge, that whole, be it theoretical. I mean, we can even start with it being theoretical, and you will move on to having practical experiences for that. But I think that for those of us that are here, for my own story, it has been a deliberate effort on my part. It wasn't because I got into the organization and it was like, oh, HRO had already mapped out what my career path would be and told me that, okay, probably somewhere in another, give yourself another 15 years, you are going to become the MD. You never really have those kind of career paths or those kind of map done for you. I'm still not sure if you go to check an HRO map and you see that from a general counsel or an in-house counsel, you can actually find your way to become the MD. So what does that tell you? It tells you that it comes back to you. It is you as an individual. It is you that says, okay, what is my career? What do I want to do? And not make that decision of what you want to do a retirement plan, but rather make it like an active plan that you live out. So one thing that I learned coming into my career as a young lawyer and all that is the need that you have to be an entrepreneur of your career. You have to show an interest. There's what you call entrepreneur. And I think everyone here has mentioned it. It doesn't mean you have to go and be doing your hustle and you are really competing with the business or you are having to shield something or hide some things and all that. It just means that you are putting yourself in the position of being the business owner. And when you are in the position of being the business owner, it shows. Everybody's going to take notice. When you look at the numbers don't add up. When you go for the MPRO, when you go for the QPRO, and those things, and you're not asking questions that are as a result of your thorough knowledge, your thorough understanding of the business, it will show. When you ask a question that, these numbers are like this, you are quoting comparisons from last quarter, 2 years quarter, what could be the reasons? Everybody is looking at you. You do that consistently, and that becomes the way of your practice or the way that you carry out your affairs. People are going to be looking at you. So I think that until we have maybe at the law school or in the university, we have a very intentional and deliberate career counseling or whatever we want to call it, that tells lawyers, young lawyers, whether you're going into the bar, whether you're going into solicitor's work, whether you're going to be in-house, whether you're going to be a government counsel, whatever it is, that really there are no glass ceilings, then that would also help. But for you to become the MD is a lot of hard work. Nobody is going to give it to you on a platter. Just put it to you on a platter and say, you know what, come and become the MD. It really has to be a lot of work. You have to see yourself as a business partner. And just like Rotimi said from the very first comment he made, you don't stay in your cocoon and say that you are a lawyer and that is the end of it. And really, you have to be ambitious. You have to be bold. You have to put in the work. You have to see yourself as a business enabler. You have to see yourself as a business owner. You have to see yourself as a solution provider. You're not the one that's always shouting and telling everybody they cannot do something. You have to be the one to look for how they can do something so that the business thrives. And that's really the sure path to getting yourself on the board. You have to put in the hard work. If you need to go back to school to do an MBA, the truth of the matter is, if you want to become the MD of any company, even if it's your own, you need to have business acumen. You need to have financial acumen. So all the running away from sciences, all the running away from word knowledge, all the running away and going to sit in one place and you're just reading case law and you're answering all the questions and it's flowing, you have to throw that out. You have to be intentional about your career and you have to know that, okay, the path I'm on is a path that helps me to fulfill my career. What is that thing that I want to do? And really, at the end of the day, you are going to sit as the chair, as the managing director. You'll probably be asked to become the chairman, and not only in that organization, you, because of your precedence or or whatever you've done, other people are going to call you to come and stay on their board and also help guide and chaperone them to thrive as a business. But the work is on us.
Wow. Wow, I'll say amen to what you just said. It sounded like a prophecy or a prayer, but I mean, what we're hearing here is the truth. These are the facts, right? We're not just going to sit somewhere and say, oh, yeah, we did not have any major case in court, nothing happened, because it goes beyond protecting the business. It goes into how can you generate revenue, how can you put the business forward. So they need to see that you have those abilities, financial acumen and all that. Thanks for that message.
Chinwe, I don't know if you can see my hand. I'm really itching to pitching on what Mercy just said. If you can see my hand. Hello?
I think our network is off. Maybe you should just go ahead.
Yes, look, what I really wanted to add, and this is like a provocation for all of us who are on the call. The subject that we are discussing today, I'm hoping that it is going to catalyze a change in many of us on the call. And I think Abimbola is, already challenged us. But do we all realize that nobody goes to school, whether it's in the university or even before that, to study how to become MD or study how to become chairman of the board? So I think as lawyers, we have to stop giving ourselves the excuse of feeling, oh, it's the way we were trained. If you go to how accountants are trained, how people who study other disciplines are trained, I don't think the emphasis is on how to come and lead the business. No, but I think as lawyers, we are giving ourselves excuses. We are, allowing ourselves to, get a slap on the wrist and, sort of like blame the system. There is work to be done. You have to position yourself for the aspirations that you have. You have to demonstrate that you are willing to put in the work and, you can be trusted to handle the leadership of the organization. And so I said it earlier by saying, when we talk about whether or not there is a glass ceiling, this could be a matter of choice. So when you start your career, even as an in-house counsel, it could be your choice that your career goal is to be general counsel and maybe become super general counsel. However, if your intention is to become a leader, let's stop seeing ourselves as lawyers. Let's start seeing ourselves as business leaders. And that inevitably means that the skills that are required to lead a business, we must make a deliberate effort to acquire those skills. We have to, now I see Chinwe is back, we need to stop giving ourselves the excuses that there's something wrong with the way we were taught or the way our education is. Maybe it doesn't help, but nonetheless, when you come out of the law school, even in legal practice, there are many things that they don't teach you in law school, and you get to practice and you see that this is totally different from what I learned. So if you have chosen to go into the corporate world as an in-house counsel, then you've got to do the work that positions you to be considered for the highest possible opportunities. Chinwe, back to you.
Thank you, Rotimi. And before we hear from Ugo, let me just say some thanks for those comments. And I think if we sit on this part of the conversation for another few minutes and all our, speakers, contribute, I think would have done justice to this topic for the session, because that's the critical part. Yeah. Move away from the perception or the mindset that, oh, it's not even, the opportunity is not there and all that. And like, I think it was Ugo that said it, wherever you are, or is it Mercy? You should actually just think about an entrepreneur getting to the top, wherever, even in law firms, yeah, you should aspire to be at top. If it's a partnership and you want to become a partner, they'll tell you the business of law is not just in going to court, writing opinions and all that. There's the revenue generation, there's business management, there's people management involved. So whether in a company or in a law firm, wherever you are, but we're talking to general counsels or in-house lawyers now, there has to be an aspiration. And you know, I had a conversation when I was doing some acceleration center, you know, training, you know, towards becoming legal director in my former place of work, not even before the last one, yeah. And generally, you know, when I was doing that assessment, you know, the assessment was for a commercial director, you know, and the feedback given was, yeah, when you're asked what's your aspiration, yeah, we don't expect you to say, oh, if I'm legal director or regional legal director, I'm fine. That's the peak, on the assumption that you cannot go into be the MD. In fact, it's a red flag if you're having a conversation around, you know, career development, and you say you're not interested in becoming an MD, because I know quite the number. If I'm not interested, what if it's not even in my goal to be MD? Who wants to be MD? I'm not interested in having that title or whatever. The point is, even if it's not a goal to be the managing director, CEO of a company, it should be a goal to develop all the skills required to take that position. Because the more skills you acquire, the more experience you acquire. And you get to a point where if you have to handle the helms of a company, you can, then you even perform better on whatever role you are in. So I think if there's anyone on this call that had been saying before this call, no, I'm not interested, you know, I think we should change that mindset, you know. And you know, sometimes what we say we're not interested in is tied to some level of insecurity or imposter syndrome. So let me not aspire, because I know I'll never get there. Yeah, I don't want to be disappointed, but you can aspire, and in aspiring, you're developing yourself. And like I always say when I'm speaking to people, personal development is personal. You take charge of it, take it in your hands, and develop yourself. So go, let's hear your thoughts, and I'll also hear from Abimbola and Webini as well on this same conversation.
Thanks, Mercy. Very good rendition there. Rotimi, you made the job also easier by your add-on statements. I'm loving this panel, honestly. The timing of my contributions, it's very, very easy. I just have to, I align with what they've said so far. Okay, now seriously, you know, it still goes back to same comments that we started with. And what to me was just spot on, part of what I wanted to speak to. There's no profession in the world that as part of add-on of the profession, they said this profession is the one amongst the people that are most likely to be CEOs. It's not like that. It's about the people. It's about the person. Now, from the very first day you start your career, you should have to be deliberate. And again, I say, these things do not matter whether or not you become the CEO or not, but these are just things that should come to you. It's why go into a profession and spend a lifetime in a career if you don't put yourself into it, if you don't apply yourself into it. It makes absolutely no sense to me. And again, also, these things also perhaps start from how one started. I would like to share, within the context of what we are saying now, I'd like to share an example of another early on career experience that I had that was really mind-changing for me then. So, like I said, as a graduate trainee at ARM, we covered all the management committee meetings and the board committee meetings at the time. It was an investment committee, IC meeting, investment committee meeting for ARM. Now, if you know the people that were there at that time, I entered into the room, I looked at the people, I was dizzy. You know, that's how you come into a room. You will see people that you know, that these people know. I was dizzy. Our head of commercial started doing presentation, presented one project, presented a budget. This guy did not say anything. Everybody, and that was the first time I was seeing the man, because that was the first time I was covering, but I knew every other person. He used to be an executive director in IFC then. What struck me was that I saw before his name, General Counsel, AFC. I said, this man is a lawyer now. When he opened his mouth, he tore the proposal to shreds. He was speaking numbers. And he was speaking numbers based on historical numbers we had given him before, month on month. And at the end of the day, he told the guy to go back. You know, it was more like he was teaching the guy how to do his presentation. Say, next time, come, do it like this, add this number, add this number. When you come, we'll be fine. And when he left, I looked at him and said, this is a lawyer. I said, this guy can do it, myself, I can do it. So the whole thing, you start from that day, you are deliberate, all these things. And you know, even by the nature of our profession, we are thorough people. The only thing is, we do not apply that awareness to financial literacy because we just take, no, this is not for me. But that's wrong. The way you take your time to read your statute books, you take your time to read all those contracts. If you take that time to study the statement, the financial statement, with some help from your other guys that may be around you, you'll be able to pinpoint holes and give commercial advice with the knowledge of the legal background that you have that won't run into issues. So the point again is that I don't want to say things that people have said or so that we don't drag things. It's very, very key for people to be deliberate. It's also key. Another point that I don't think we've made so much was people need to be audacious also. Now, when I mean audacious, there will be that period because all this thing about who's going to be CEO or who's going to get on the board or who's going to get to serious management positions, they don't take them overnight. It's a continuum of experiences, shared experiences that people on the board have of a particular member of staff. So when you feel about, you believe that you're a lawyer, you have the best legal knowledge, you're very, very knowledgeable about the law. What should make you sleep well at night is that there's something that your company wanted to do that they could never have done if not for your innovation. And I'll share one. I happened to be 2008 was about the time this private equity fad was becoming an issue in Nigeria. Many private equity firms, ARM at least, I know was among the first wave of private equity companies that raised the private equity fund. Standard issue with SEC. SEC did not know anything about PE fund, with all due respect to them at the time. SEC took all the rules of mutual funds and wanted to apply to private equity. Just the one I want to speak, there were so many issues, but this particular one, because I had a head-on engagement with them for over 6 months, but we prevailed, was a management fee. Management fee was X sum of the amount that the fund had. But they did not realize that, like, unlike a mutual fund, that is all funds that have been aggregated and people are that's fund under management, the FUM of a private equity fund is a commitment fund. You can't be charging management fees as a regulator on how much investors have decided to bring in the event that calls are made, relative to how much has actually investments have been made and what is actually the fund under management. It took them a while to understand it, but the point for me, that was very, very important for me. For us, it was a big thing because we had DFIs from outside. That was a condition precedent for them investing in our fund, that we were not going to have that model of charges for regulator fees for management fee. It took a while. It took me about 6 months to educate SEC, and they came around, and when they were bringing out the first industry rules on PE funds, they changed it from management funds raised to actual amounts that have been committed. So sometimes you need to be audacious. If I had sat back and I said, but today, these are the things that you do. Good things don't hide. That's what I know. When you are it and you keep at your job and you apply yourself, you will be on the path. And who knows, if you don't get to MD CEO, you will be known as one of the best professionals that they know. And when you go and apply it in your own life, you'll be better off for it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ugo. Great example you shared with us, and kudos to you for doing that. I mean, you could have sat back and said, oh, it's a financial issue, it's a budget issue, it's a commercial issue, not really a legal issue. So let me sit back and let other people have those arguments. So well done, and thank you for sharing. So still on building the skills, getting ready, beyond, okay, must I do an MBA? that's question for, it's just there hanging in the air. What else can I do? So we want to hear from Gbemini and Abimbola. So Gbemini, over to you on this same topic about what can I do? What can I do further, to prepare myself to be MD CEO?
Thanks, Chinwe. And I would say that, for the role of GC, I think you being MD CEO is not only the end goal. There are other roles that a GC can obviously take up, in an organization that is also, up there as well. I would say, we're talking about developing certain skill sets. It's very important and imperative for you to also learn. I also struggled with numbers in the beginning of my career. In fact, then the CFO usually says, if you give me financials, if you want her head to spin, just give her figures. She would just faint right there on the spot. It was this joke in the organization for a long time when I just came in. But guess what I did, right? I went for a training, finance for non-finance professionals. I'll never forget. And also the fact that I knew I was going to be signing accounts, which was very important. And then there was a case about a company secretary at the time that signed an account, that contained misleading information. And I think at the time, everybody wanted to, know what they were signing and getting into. So I think for me, you can always, these things, you can learn them. You can go for trainings, you can develop this skill set. But one thing I think that hinders a lot of GCs or in-house counsel is that they don't want to get out of their comfort zone. And I say this because, I've been able to engage with some people don't want to get out of their comfort zone. When I started my career and then I used to man the firm's cap table, as simple as, the register and all of those things, do the simulations, everything. And I remember speaking to a senior colleague at the time, and he said, Baby, why are you the one doing this now? This for another unit, another department and everything. And I'm forever grateful that I did all of those things, I'm forever grateful. I'm able to read Excel, cap tables, putting formulas and whatnot, because it was important and imperative. And at the time, in the organization I was in at the time, you also had to come prepare your budget, prepare your numbers, and you don't want to go there and be seen as a cost center while everybody's talking about how they will make the money, the company take them to this number, and then all you are coming to do is how to finish that money that they're going to make. No one will take it serious. They will just be like, these are the money spenders, because then the marketing and comms team always fell within these brackets. We always call them the money spenders. But I quickly caught on and was like, you know what? No, I have to also see how to add value to the table. It's very, very imperative that you also, get out of your comfort zone. Those things that are uncomfortable for you. It's not just a legal call anymore. It's also how can you contribute and bring value to the organization that you are in, right? It's so germane and so key in this time. So that's how you also know how people will start taking you seriously. You are not just the person that, this is a legal call, this is a commercial call, I'm not interested. Why do I need to evaluate this? You need to, if you need to get the skills, get the training, please do. There are so many trainings out there you can expose yourself to just to be able to develop the right skill set. But it's very important that you are out of your comfort zone. Don't just be, I'm GC. I'm in my glass office with many lights, beautiful. Let me just sit down there. I don't need to go walk down and talk to operations people or talk to these people. Now, let me just even share something that happened in my career. When I started, when I got into the role of company secretary, I was really young, very young at the time. And one of the things I did when I got into the organization was I looked at beyond my own units, right? I noticed a lot of things were not maximized efficiently. A lot of teams or units were not running at their maximum efficiency. Now, I just didn't say, I'm company secretary. What's my business? If they like that, that's their call, There were a lot of memos I threw out there and pushed out there, very, very straight to the point. One page with diagram illustrating it. I knew how they wanted to, information to be interpreted to them, and I came with the numbers and what we're going to do. And so I didn't just say, this is how it affects my own units. I also,
added value for the other units as well. And, you know, I started being a part of every conversation. Even though it was, you know, I was like, why did I put myself out there? Any little meeting now, baby must be there. This must be. So, I mean, but it paid off in the long run. You could tell that I wasn't just the person that was called for legal deliberations or, this has to do with governance. The conversation now went deeper. It went beyond that. You know, it was also making business calls as well. So I would say, please, GCs, in-house counsels, they need to get out of their comfort zone. They need to get involved in the business, understand the business, understand what the philosophy is, what do they want to achieve. Don't be the person that will keep, you know, be a cost center. And then when they tell you they want to bring this new innovation, you say, no, Kama says this, no, SEC says this. Be the person that makes it happen and thinks outside the box. The company and even you would thank yourself for it later.
Wow, thank you, Bemini. And I can totally relate to the example you gave where we understand that as in-house counsels, as general counsels, and you want to look at the structure of a law firm that's providing it's not about, can you hear me?
You were hanging for a bit, but you're back
now.
Okay,
yeah. You're going to speak next, Abimbola, but it's not about you just sitting in your chambers, yeah, your desk in the office to say, if they need anything, they will come to me. Yeah, you go out, you know, do the extra mile behavior. Let me turn off my video so you can hear me clearly. You know, do the extra mile behavior where you reach out to say, what do you need? This is what I've observed. This is what you can do to make your processes better or your work better. And therefore, you are top on mind when they need some kind of support, a sounding board, not when they run into problems or when they say, this might not be legal, let's check with you know, Madam B, Madam C, or Mr. A. You know, it's about early involvement or involvement from start to finish, you know, from the beginning of the company process to the end. And that gives us that 360, you know, outlook that one of us mentioned here, you know. So it's really, really important that we start to, you know, make the shifts that are necessary for this growth. And like Ugo said, this is just about adding value and just, you know, developing yourself. So even if your goal is not to be MDC, or at least go the extra mile and you know, provide that support to a business and have that full outlook. And I think it's even to our advantage where we have that full view, because in managing risk or preventing, you know, risk, you know, the more you know about the business, the easier it is for you to protect the business. So Abimbola, your comments on this. Thank you. Developing the skills and getting there. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So after getting all the skills and being ready, I think other ways that would help is also to have a mentor and to have a sponsor. Now, a mentor is someone that has played in your field or has gone ahead of you in a similar career that, you know, can hold your hand and help you, you know, navigate the terrains that they have gone through without making it you having to experience that, you know, to get to the top. And then having a sponsor is having someone in-house that is senior enough that can speak for you. I think I'd mentioned earlier that you would not always be in the room when they're discussing you and your career. But if you do have a sponsor that, you know, is senior enough, will probably be in the room to speak on your behalf. And, you know, that would help you. They would also have, you know, further insights into how the business is going, what direction the business is going, that can also provide some assistance to you as you proceed in the organization. I can say for myself, my board has always been my sponsor. You know, even when there were delays in promotion, they would actually call, you know, to review and ensure that, you know, what is due is being done. And also even when changes are being done in the organization or has been done in my organization, they put my name forward, you know, to further, you know, progress in my career. So for me, it has worked for me. I think it would also be useful for everybody, you know, to also toe that part. Another thing is, do it afraid. I know that has talked about being audacious and all, but when it comes to those things, actually, when it happens, you know, sometimes, you know, fear takes over. For instance, I have IT under my portfolio. I'm not an IT specialist, right? And when, you know, the offer was first made to me, I turned it down. I said, I wasn't interested. I'm not an IT person. What am I, you know, going to to bring, to the table. But thinking about it again, I don't think the expectation is for me to, be drawing up codes and things like that. I think it's the experience of structure and supervision that was required, which I do have, and I was able to take on the role, which I'm still doing. I'm learning the IT part, but also giving them some guidance and structure, in driving their own area of the business. So when the opportunity comes, sometimes it doesn't come in the way you expect. It's not that they're going to make you ED like that, or they're going to make you MD. It could be in another area. They can move you to sales, right? Does that mean that you're not going to take it? It's from sales that you can become MD. Most times, it's the salespeople that get promoted. So when it comes, don't look at the dressing. Look at the opportunity that comes with it, and do it afraid. You will learn. You will move on. I don't think they're just going to throw you into the water without help. So when that do come and when they arise, look beyond your fear and take it on, and you see that you will overcome. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that, and well done to you, Abimbola, for taking up the opportunity. I know you're doing fantastic. Do it afraid. Yeah. Prepare for the opportunity, and when it comes, take the opportunity. It's the can-do spirit that, me and some of my friends called it the can-do spirit. I was in a session where some guy said he's a serial businessman. And so whenever he's in any conversation, anywhere, I said, we're looking for someone to supply us plantain. He says, I can do it. We're looking for someone to do it. I can do it. I can do it. I found it very funny, but he said that he's established so many companies from I can do it, because even if he can't do it at that time, he can do it because he can always get people to do it. He can establish a company to do it. He can just do, I'm not saying we should go to the extreme, but that whole mindset and positive vibe, of I can do it would really help a lot of us. So speaking about mentors and sponsors versus office politics and, what some people call, what word can I use? How, just, doing the yes, ma, yes, sir, going to their houses for parties and all that. In this part, where people say it's office politics, I don't do office politics, my work speaks for me and all that. What do you think about mentors and sponsors? So anyone who wants to jump on that question, please feel free. Unmute yourself and speak if you can, any of our speakers. Because, Abimbola raised it, and I think it's something very important, because when the decisions are being made, someone has to refer to what you've done, what you're doing, or your potential. So this person that wants to speak about you, how does a person convert from just being a boss or a colleague to a sponsor or a mentor? Okay. Some people don't believe in mentors, but let's hear from you. So who wants to go next? And then we'll go around it.
Before my fellow panelists take over.
Okay.
I don't do high service, if you can use that word. I don't believe in it. I seriously think, and every other person, your boss and all that, even if they accept it and they take you and or the people that do all this, they know the people that can deliver on the job. And every person, you, me, your boss, the MD, the chairman, wants to look good. I don't think they're going to give the job to someone that cannot deliver. So if you can deliver and you're doing your job and they know that you can do your job, then they will look over whoever it is that comes to their house or does the house leakage and all that and give the person the job to do. So for me, focus on your job, develop yourself, be ready. And when it comes, they know the right people that they would call, and it will come to you if it's due to you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Who's next?
Yeah,
Let's
Okay.
Right, go on, Bessie. Go on, Bessie.
Okay, so yeah, I think that's just the truth about it. You have to be your authentic self. You really have to. It's a long run way. It is a long run way. You might not be in that organization that you go to cook, you go to parley with the MD's wife, or you understand all the MD's hangouts, and that's where you meet, you buy him drinks, you try to just boost up his ego and all that. You go meet all the EDs, all the inner circles that they run, and you're even the one running things for them. You're making it, that runway might just be a short runway. It might just be a short runway. So you should have at the back of your mind that this is your life. So how many years are you propositioning to the Almighty that you want to be on this earth? So that should make you be your authentic self. And in being your authentic self, it is about putting in the work so that the work really does speak for yourself, but you also bring on board all the other elements, the EQ that you need to be able to relate with people, to be able to be calm, to be able to work under pressure, and to be able to remain invaluable and indispensable, even in your convictions for what is being authentic to you as regards the job, as regards your deliverables. You don't need to sell your soul. You don't need to sell your soul to the devil. Yeah, you don't need to sell your soul to the devil, because really, how many devils are you going to sell yourself to? How many?
Mercy, thank you for that. Yeah. So what do you think about sponsors and mentors in terms of this career growth? Thank you for addressing the issue about office politics or eye service, which is, something that I think everyone should reconsider, because some people advise you and tell you how you need to go beyond the workplace and build a relationship. Building a relationship, yes, is good, but there should be a line, right? So what do you think about mentors and sponsors? Are they important?
Yeah, absolutely. So the easiest way for you to rise in any organization, if you are just coming in fresh off school, fresh off your master's or whatever it is really to so you have to be intentional, you have to be deliberate about it. And that means you have to look for someone in-house that can handhold you, someone in-house that has been there. Now, it is not just about kissing the foot of the person and all that. It's part of it, because you need to be able to manage your bosses, or you need to be able to manage those that are ahead of you. But it's more about showing your work. It's all about showing your work. So really, sponsorship is good. And the easiest way for you to get a sponsor is to let the work speak. So if they say, okay, you know what, we are having this challenge in this aspect, you can go ahead and say, okay, in this aspect, what about there are other things that I think that we should bring to mind as at now that probably is not looking like it's an issue. But you've exposed yourself, but I was at a webinar, I was at a seminar some days ago, and these are the new thinking that I think is coming within the industry. We might want to put ourselves in a position so we can address those things. So it comes back to you doing the hard work. It comes back to you being able to show the work. So that's the only way you can retain, even if you have a sponsor that is sponsoring you just for all the wrong reasons, so to speak. You understand? Because you probably tick the boxes in all other areas that are not pertaining to the work. What you're doing is, like I said, is a long runway. You're actually killing yourself, you're killing your career deliberately. So I think it's the best that if you do have a sponsor, let it be the one that is going to be aligned with your career path, your career growth, and where you see yourself. Just like you said, you might not want to be the MD, but you should put yourself in a position that if you are the MD, you would excel at it. Then when it also comes to mentorship, I still think it's the same thing. I think, for a lot of us that are here that are panelists, I think one way or the other, we've had mentors that even whether they are known to, whether they know they are our mentors or they don't know that they are mentors, either way, they've influenced us in how we've been able to pursue our careers. I used to have a boss, and one thing she said, which I know that till tomorrow stays true, and I think someone mentioned it, is the fact that whatever you learn, whatever growth path you've taken upon yourself, it remains you.
Yeah.
So if you are not within that organization today, it's just you moving it. The skill set, the knowledge, the experience, the exposure is moving it to that place that you are at that particular point in time. Nobody's going to cut off your head and say, oh, all the knowledge, all the skill set, all the things you've learned, okay, you know what, drop it before you go. It's not going to happen. So what do? You need to take your personal growth seriously. You shouldn't leave it at somebody's desk to say, okay, you know what, let somebody influence it, let somebody. And as it is today, you can do everything online. You can go on a course on Coursera. When we was talking about learning finance for non-lawyers or non-finance people, you can go on Coursera, you can take a course. How much is it going to cost you? But the thing is, it has to be a deliberate, intentional action on our part to say that there really shouldn't be any glass ceiling in whatever I want to do. In my career path, there shouldn't be any glass ceiling, and I shouldn't stay in my cocoon. But I must agree that it is hard. Honestly speaking, leaving your comfort zone is hard. It is hard.
Yes. After 5 years, university, 1 year in law school, and all the other things. Yeah.
I'm telling you, you just want to go there, whatever you are, and just want to flex. I mean, like, you know what? Let me live the soft life, just like they call it. I remember when
I'm gonna have to stop you. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Because of time. Thank you so much. And this conversation, I wish we could have part 2. It's been fantastic. And we're going to get questions from the audience. But Rotimi wanted to make comments. He has a hard stop in the next 3 minutes. So Rotimi, your comments, and then we continue with the conversation. Thank you very much, Messi.
Thank you, Chime, for the opportunity. And I have to say thanks to all of the panelists as well, because I have been taking copious notes of all of the wonderful nuggets they've been sharing. On the subject of sponsors versus mentors, I think the point's been made about how, you can secure people to be your sponsors. And I do agree it's important. I just want to highlight what I think is one, shall I say, difference between who is a mentor versus who a sponsor is. I think, a sponsor has to be someone who is in a position to have a direct impact on your career. So could be someone who, when a decision is to be made about how you progress or, can actually have a say. A mentor, on the other hand, it's not necessary, may not even be in the same organization with you. It may be someone that you admire and you want to be like, or as someone else has said, someone who influences the way you shape your career. And I think both are important, and to have people in the position of sponsors for you as in your career means that you must demonstrate that you have the capability to add value to the organization. So even when you're not in the room, they're advocating for you. They're pushing for you to get that next, challenging, stretching opportunity. That then, inevitably means that you progress better in your career. Chime, I dropped you a note and I have to apologize to everyone. I absolutely have to leave now, but if I may be permitted to spend the next 60 seconds just to share the last things that I think I had noted down that, maybe we are yet to talk. Way forward, what is the future for all of us as GCs, as in-house counsels? I think it's important we have to embrace technology. That's another area that many of us as lawyers are kind of, uninterested in, but it's now inevitable. And it doesn't just apply to lawyers. Technology is now, we just have to embrace it. Yes, I know we love our law reports and our Nigerian weekly law reports and all those, books, but we've got to be more adaptable and creative. Secondly, we have to understand and appreciate that the world we're in now is just, it's the expression that is used is VUCA. It's, volatile, is, uncertain, is complex. It's all of those things. And if we want to progress as general counsels, as in-house counsel, especially within the corporate setting, the things that corporations grapple with on a daily basis, even in a country like ours, where the infrastructure is just not there. Policies, there can be a policy flip-flop appears to be. So that being able to understand that is the way of the world now, and in your role as a general counsel, and even as you aspire to be more than just being a corporate counsel, you have to understand and have the capacity to proactively and dynamically also adapt to those uncertainties. And finally, from me is, I think positioning is absolutely critical. If you want progress, you've got to position yourself in a manner that, people have to see you, the visibility. And it's not about dressing and wearing suit and tie, and they call you the law in the organization. But you have to position yourself in a manner that people see that you add value. You are that voice that the most critical decisions are not made without being consulted. They will say, let's ask the guy, not just because you're a lawyer, but because you have positioned yourself as a leader of the business. You understand the business, you understand the different aspects of the business, and you are able to apply that understanding in the every time you open your mouth as a counsel. It is with full understanding of what the different aspects of the business entails. That way, you get the respect that grants you the possibility of progressing more. I have to leave now. I have thoroughly enjoyed this. I have to thank everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this.
Thank you, MRO, as you drop off, and it's been a great conversation with you. And we'll be wrapping up with the other speakers. So thanks for joining us, MRO. You can connect with all our speakers. I think everyone is on LinkedIn actually, and all that. I've been waiting for questions in the chat, but some questions that we had prepared ahead of this conversation for our speakers. I'll just mention two other aspects of the conversation, and then any of our speakers, as you give your final remarks, you can pick any of the two, or just say your final remarks, just in case you don't have any questions in the chat. I haven't seen, okay, someone says we should have a session on technology and future of work. Yeah, that's a good idea. Ayokunle is on the call, so I hope he's taking note of that. It's been a wonderful conversation. And, some other questions that we had penciled down ahead of this session was, how realistic is it for GC to really plan to be executive director or CEO? We've actually addressed some of it. There's another question which talks about poor remuneration for in-house counsel. How the in-house lawyers earn lower than colleagues in other departments. Of course, you don't have full visibility of the payroll, but the perception is there. Some people, have seen it live from conversations with colleagues. So, when they're rating you or talking about your pay is lower than it should be, for your peers, looking at number of years of experience and all that. That's a hot topic. Should the NBA address it? I know the NBA was talking about remuneration of lawyers recently. The other question has to do with the NBA, Nigerian Bar Association, where they're doing elections, they're different positions, and in-house counsel are not even, considered for those roles. So there's a political aspect. I don't know if any of us is interested in that topic for politics, but it's something we thought we could even discuss. There's no time. If you're doing your final comment, you can touch on that if you think it's important to mention. But let me refer to Principle 8.2 of the Nigeria National Code of Corporate Governance 2018 provides that the company secretary should be appointed through a rigorous selection process, similar to that of new directors. This is there in NCCG. This presupposes that gravitas and, all that level, it just shows the level that the law or the corporate governance code, places on the role of the company secretary. So you have to go through that rigorous process. The constitution is there, but then you're not given the same treatment as directors. Like we said earlier, let's not play. There's no pity party. We're not victims. We just have to move on with what we need to do. So let me hear from our speakers as we wrap up. I haven't seen any questions. Okay, is this a question from Taiwo? Okay, it says what really should be the demeanor or body language of a company secretary in the boardroom? Can the company secretary interject to make contributions, or should the company secretary wait to be called? What's the general practice? Is there a general practice? So was it Mercy that gave the example about how they said you shouldn't be heard, and someone was saying don't speak? Yeah, so maybe you should take that question in the chat. So what's general practice? I don't think it's written anywhere that company secretaries cannot talk and all you do is take minutes. But if you look at the training that we do in ICSAN, perhaps Mercy, you can take it from that angle, you know.
Yeah, so just to address that question, I don't think that we should interject, because really you have to respect the room. You have to have decorum, most especially in a board meeting. But I think that as a company secretary, you are seated next to the chairman. So the chairman is supposed to take his cue, a lot of things, guidance and everything. So you should be able to have a very good, efficient rapport with the chairman, because the chairman leads the meeting. The chairman takes charge of the meeting and all that. So so you should have a rapport with the chairman, and you should position yourself in a way that at the end of the day, the chairman calls you for recourse. You are the one that he's beckoning on. You are the one that he's seeking to ensure that clarity is made in what will be contained in the presentation of the minutes or the board pack going forward into the next meetings. So I think that's really, really critical. We shouldn't forget the place of decorum, especially in the boardroom, but we should make sure that there is a relationship, a professional and efficient driven relationship with the chairman, such that you can be able to influence the meeting as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mercy. And in terms of positioning, yeah, you weren't even speaking about physical, but I can add that even for meetings, yeah, someone had mentioned, okay, having a pre-session ahead of the main meeting. That helps. And then actually for sitting positions, really, I think a company secretary should sit in between the chairman of the board and the director. That way you can whisper, you can drop notes and all that. And also, you have a word, you have something to say. Chairman is in charge of the meeting and he gives you permission. It would be odd for the chairman to say, no, talk to me later. Then it shows that probably you've not built that level of credits, to be able to be heard in a board meeting. So I think it takes a while. And in terms of practice, yeah, like you said, don't just butt in, but ask to be heard and position yourself to be able to do that. Another question of Mercy. Someone asked, I think we've answered, but let me just read out the question from Dotun. He says, what is that key thing, technical or social skills for the MD role? So we've mentioned many skills. I think he's saying what is key amongst everything we've mentioned. So let's hear from an MD, one of our speakers. We have MDs as speakers, so who wants to answer? You're an MD. So what's the key thing, really, of all the things you mentioned? In my opinion, it's difficult to just pick one, but
knowledge of your business. Yeah? Our knowledge of your business. No. You need to know, understand your knowledge, follow the trends, and be proactive. You need to always be at the cutting edge of what's going on. Even if you are localized there, you need to have a global perspective as well.
Add on that. Thank you very much. Bimini, what's that one key?
Same with what Mercy has said. We mentioned having business, commercial acumen. You need to be savvy. And one last thing I would say, I know maybe lawyers don't like to hear this, is also you need to have ability to sell. The truth is, all through your life or all through your career as a person, and I always tell this to everybody, you are selling something. You're either selling yourself or you're selling a product. At every point in your career, you need to be able to sell. So your ability to be able to convince people to take a chance on you or to convince someone to go your line, you're also selling something. So I would say yes, you need to have ability, to sell and also be commercially aware.
Fantastic. Cool. Any comments on that? They've yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so in addition to what they've said, I think one of the greatest things you can ever do, or you need to do as an MD, is you need to be able to put all the factors together. You don't need to be the most intelligent person in the boardroom. You don't need to be. In fact, actually, as our group MD, Mr. Lee would always say, is that he's done all the things he's done by being the dumbest in the room, but being able to have the most brilliant people and being able to use them well. So you must know how to put all the factors together at the right places, and to which peg gets into the same hole, which hole gets into the same peg. It's very important, it's very key when to take very, very defining decisions, when to take a while to look back and watch what the market is saying. These are things that are in it, but you need to build yourself for it. And then at the end of the day, it's all about the numbers. So much talk will get you somewhere, but at the end of the day, it's the numbers.
Show me the money. Thank you, Google. Abibola, because really, what's a business without profit, right? Yeah.
So I'll just say that your technical skills may get you in the room, your soft skills will keep you there. So you need both at the end of the day. You can't do without the other.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. And this is how we're wrapping it up. Let me check the chat if there's any question. I think we've managed time very well. Yeah, and so we've answered Dotun's question. And someone, Bumi, says, I would like to know how to go about quantifying the financial value of the service in-house counsel provide. Particularly, a lot of this is preventive and may not always be tangible. Okay, good question. I'm going to throw it to Bumi, but someone said something in a session I attended, and it just looked like a formula. It says, ability without visibility is disability. So you have an ability, there's no visibility of that ability, then it is disability. I know how to cook. I've not shown I know how to cook. Then you don't know how to cook. So you say legal is protecting the business, we're saving the business money. We cannot say it in Naira and Kobo. So you are not doing what you say you're doing. So this question is, how do we quantify it in Naira and Kobo? Because really a lot of it's preventive, services are not exactly seen. So what's the impact? Yeah. I have an answer, but let me hear from maybe since I'm a moderator, not a speaker.
This is tricky. And the truth is, it also depends on the kind of structure your organization runs. I said something earlier about not, being a cost center. What worked or what I, deployed for my firm at the time might not work for yours. So where I was working, we had a group of companies, right? And we ran at the time a group structure wherein, we sit at the center and we provide a lot of all these services to all of these companies, right, within the group structure. And when we present our budgets, and for me, I was even going to say earlier when we're talking about the challenges, my own challenge then as company secretary was inadequate budgets, right? Because everybody is trying to see how maybe you shouldn't hire, more persons. You shouldn't deploy the use of technology or get like a governance portal or use like a legal software solution. These things are expensive, right? So what I basically did was I quickly caught on and understood what was important to the company at the time. They wanted great service. They wanted it at a very budget-friendly cost effect, exactly. So what did I do? I put together what I thought could be the number that was practicable. And then I deployed a lot of, people that I could bring in as a graduate trainee and then quickly teach them. Yes, it did impact on, the pace of the job, but at least financially for the company, they were good, they were happy, and then the work still got done. And over time, to not even, make a case to go higher, what I'll typically do is to say, see, if you go and get an external law firm, right? And I'll come with the proposals and the numbers. This is how much they will charge you. This is how much this would happen. This is how much that will happen. And at the end of the day, because you're coming with numbers that make sense, they're able to say, okay, this is the amount that this in-house team has been saving us compared to if we're taking this service outside, okay, then it makes sense to be able to, you know, jump the cost up a bit because they are businessmen. They see and understand the fact that you're making them money. And also, from what I also did from the legal bit, right? We also look at all our contracts that have certain financial implications, right? And then we look at, okay, how much has the company lost by virtue of that? At the end of every year, it usually came up to zero at the time. So it made a lot of sense. So we were not losing money, right? And we were optimizing efficiency in terms of how to work or how we structured the unit at the time. So we also were able to benchmark on what it would cost the organization if they were to get an external law firm providing company secretarial, compliance, and also legal services. So it just made sense. We just found the balance. That's what I think. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Beminia. This is not about packaging. It's about documenting facts and bringing in a way that people can comprehend in numbers. So everything has a price. Fantastic examples you've given, and I really like the answer. Thank you so much. I'm going to give the opportunity to Mercy, Ugochukwu, Bemini, Abimbola to just, 1 minute, your final words as we conclude this session. And, thank you to everyone for your participation. But, you can help us by giving us feedback. So in the chat, you can just say one word to describe this session or a sentence to say what you think about this session. As many comments as possible, it will be great feedback for us. And then before the speakers, make their final comments, on this same thing about quantifying your value or being visible about what you're doing, I think that the example you gave me is very, very, and it's like saying, oh, I settled a case out of court. What was the potential liability? What were you sued for? That's a savings, yeah? So you can argue, okay, yeah, if they had gone to court, would they have won? But it's still a potential liability. There's also the reputational issue that would have cost the company some loss as well. And then procurement, they're very great at show you how they procure 50% opposed to, for an amount. They negotiated it down. And then they do this minus this, and they put it as savings. So legal, we should be able to do that in whatever we're doing. When you get, there's a thin line between, okay, over negotiating all that. But when there's a risk, you've entered the risk. There's a number to it. The company would have lost some, put it forward, and all that, but what we're doing, and therefore it makes it easier to, take away the ceiling, the glass ceiling. Is it imaginary or not? It might just be there. Shatter the ceiling, move up, do what you need to achieve your dreams, and aim for the highest. Okay, so one sentence from everyone. And please, your comments in chat and read out over. Just said in the chat, this session is streaming on to catch up with it. So share the link with other people that missed the session. So final comments.
Okay, so if I go first, there are no glass ceilings. So that's just
okay.
There are no glass ceilings. Yeah.
There are no. Ugo.
Okay, on my part, my final shot to lawyers on this fellow panelists is that I'll leave you with one of the favorite statements of a professor of law that taught us in UI then. He said, who is the lawyer? The lawyer is the one that knows the law, but also knows something about everything else. And that is the kind of knowledge, broad-based knowledge, spectrum-based knowledge that you will need to ensure that these glass ceilings are not for you.
Okay, I'll go because I don't think we can hear Chinwe anymore. I think place premium value on yourself. There's nothing impossible that you cannot achieve. If you place value on yourself, there's nothing that would stand in your way. You would achieve even much more than we've said here today. Thank you.
I'll go next. I will just say a few lines. The first would be a taker in all that you do. Be the entrepreneur and the owner of your career. sometimes see law as the means to an end and not the end in itself.
Okay, I think we've lost Chinwe. Yeah.
Yes.
Chinwe, are you back? Yeah.
Okay, so
Oh,
I think we've lost Chewy briefly. So thank you very much for all the panelists. Just to close out on the session, we're going to call on Shofola Osho to give the vote of thanks.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Good afternoon. I just want to commend the panelists. It's been a very interesting session. I didn't know when I grabbed my pen and my paper and I started scribbling, trying to write down as much as I could. You've done immense justice to it. Let me start by thanking Kaizen Academy for bringing this session to light. I must commend Lillian Obiageli and the fantastic work she does at Kaizen Academy. So on behalf of all of us, well done, Lillian, and keep the flag flying. For those who don't know about Kaizen, you can please check Kaizen Academy up on social media handles, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. And basically what Kaizen does is the consulting outfit, one-stop shop for corporate governance, strategy, management trainings, and the like. So if you have a question on corporate governance strategy, you'd like a board training, you'd want to reach out to Kaizen Academy. So let me thank, I know Rotimi had to drop off, a very busy man. So thank you, Rotimi. Thank you all the panelists. Thank you. The session has ended, but really you've opened a plethora of thoughts in our heads as lawyers as to how to take this matter forward. It's something we're definitely going to have to examine at some future date, maybe only to take stock of how far we've come and what we're doing. And also to look at how we can help younger lawyers. A lot of us are corporate leaders already, company secretaries, general counsels. Let's look at how we can also help the upcoming guys to at least get to where we are. Somebody had dropped a note in the chat box requesting for a session on the use of technology. Well, let me just say you're in luck. Kaizen has another session in December, and that's December the 8th, and it's titled Managing Business Effectively in an Unstable Economy, with a special focus on 2023. So we're going to examine a lot of things around the use of technology and how you can use technology to enhance your role. Thank you once again, Kaizen Academy. Thank you, Lillian. And to our esteemed panelists, thank you very much. God bless you. Have a lovely afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, thank
Bye.
you so much.
Bye, everyone. Yes.
Bye.
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 Thank you, everybody.
Well done, Ayo. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well done, Lillian.
Yeah.
Well done, Ayo. Well done.
Alrighty.
Bye, everyone.
Well done, Chinwe. Thank you so much.
Your network just released you.
Honestly. Well done.
Okay.